At 77, Rob Reiner finally confirms what we thought all along. He's been called a meathead by some, a genius by others. This is Rob Reiner, the director who gave us everything from hilarious mockumentaries to heartwarming romances, but lately he seems more focused on politics than film, leaving many to wonder what happened to the Rob Reiner we all knew and love. Join us as we take a deep dive into Rob Reiner's extraordinary career, exploring his iconic movies, his controversial political views, and the reasons behind his recent decline in Hollywood. Early career: Rob Reiner, the man we've all come to know and love on our screens, was born on March 6, 1947, and he came into this world in a place we all know, the Bronx, New York. Now, if you're thinking his name sounds familiar, you're probably right. His dad was none other than Carl Reiner, the comedic genius behind the classic show The Dick Van Dyke Show. Growing up in such a creative household, it's no wonder Rob developed a passion for the arts. He even went on to study at UCLA Film School, and by the late 1960s he had already started making waves on television, appearing in shows we all grew up watching like The Andy Griffith Show, Batman, and The Beverly Hillbillies. But Rob didn't stop there. He made his big screen debut in 1967, starring in his father's film Enter Laughing. A few years later, in 1969, he was back on the silver screen in Halls of Anger, and the following year he teamed up with his dad once again for the movie Where's Papa? It was during this time that Rob also started to follow in his father's comedic footsteps, writing for Steve Martin's variety show The Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour. Rob's career was already taking off, but his big break came when he landed the role of Michael Meathead Stivic on the iconic show All in the Family. This show wasn't just any sitcom, it was a game changer. It premiered in 1971 and ran for a whopping 8 seasons, with Rob playing the lovable Meathead for most of it. It tackled some serious issues head-on. We're talking racism, homophobia, feminism, abortion, and even the Vietnam War. The show's main draw was the clash between Rob's character, the liberal Meathead, and his conservative father-in-law Archie Bunker. Their arguments were legendary. Sure, not all of the show's views have aged well, but it was groundbreaking for its time. It dared to discuss topics that were considered taboo back then, and that's why even today All in the Family holds a special place in TV history. Believe it or not, All in the Family wasn't an instant hit. It took a little time for folks to warm up to it, but once they did, it became the talk of the town, the water cooler show everyone was buzzing about. It was so popular that for several years it was the top-rated show on TV. Talk about a success story. It even spawned 5 spin-offs, although Rob didn't star in any of those. Now let's get back to Michael, Rob's character. Did you know he was an orphan? His parents tragically passed away in a car accident, so he ended up living with Gloria and her parents, Archie and Edith Bunker. You can imagine the fireworks between Michael and his conservative father-in-law Archie. His mother-in-law, things were different, they had a sweet, loving relationship. It just goes to show families come in all shapes and sizes with all sorts of personalities. Edith, bless her heart, was often stuck in the middle of those heated Bunker family debates, but she wasn't just a peacemaker. She stood up for Archie when she thought he was right. Think of it like this: Archie was old school, stuck in his ways, while Michael was all about the new progressive ideas of the 60s. It was a classic clash of generations. Michael was like a spokesperson for the counterculture movement, but he never really touched on the darker side of that scene. Now, even though Michael was on the right side of the issues, he wasn't perfect. He had his flaws, but deep down he had a good heart, especially in the beginning. But you know how things change, right? When Rob decided not to continue with the show's spin-off Gloria, the writers had to find a way to explain his absence, so they set his character Michael up and left his family to join a hippie commune. Rob left All in the Family after the show's 8th season and didn't return for any of the show's spin-offs. For his role as Meathead, Reiner would win 2 Emmys. He would dabble in television a bit more by co-creating the short-lived sitcom The Super, but it would be the big screen that would truly cement his name in American entertainment. Directional breakthrough: fast forward to 1984, Rob teamed up with a bunch of hilarious comedians to create a movie that would become a cult classic. This is Spinal Tap. Not only did Rob direct this mockumentary, but he also played the director within the movie. While this is Spinal Tap wasn't the first mockumentary out there, it breathed new life into the genre and is still considered the gold standard. It captures the wild and wacky world of rock and roll so perfectly that you can't tell where the jokes end and reality begins. It's so funny it'll have you rolling on the floor laughing. And get this, the band in the movie, Spinal Tap, was so convincing that they ended up actually becoming a real band, touring and releasing albums. After This Is Spinal Tap, everyone was wondering what Rob would do next. He surprised us all by going in a completely different direction, a romantic comedy called The Sure Thing. It was a bit of a head-scratcher at the time considering his rock and roll mockumentary background, but who doesn't love a good love story? And let me tell you, this wasn't just a one-off thing. This was Rob dipping his toes into the world of rom-coms, and let's just say he made quite a splash. He ended up making a bunch more of these feel-good movies, cementing his place as a master of not just one but two genres. By this point folks had pegged Rob as the comedy and rom-com king, but he threw us a curveball in 1986 with Stand By Me, a movie based on a Stephen King story. While there were some funny parts, it was a coming-of-age story with a whole lot of heart and drama, and that's when it hit us, Rob wasn't just a one-trick pony. He could handle serious stuff too. Seriously, this guy is like a chameleon. He can jump from genre to genre effortlessly. Whether it's comedy, romance, or even a touch of horror, Rob has said that he really connected with the character Gordy, the narrator in Stand By Me. Gordy's a writer, a creative soul, and he's trying to find his own way while living in the shadow of a famous family member. Rob could totally relate to that feeling, even though he had already made a name for himself by then. He even got his first Golden Globe nomination for directing this movie. Stand By Me is a masterpiece. Rob nailed it with the perfect blend of humor and drama, capturing the thrill and the fear that comes with being a kid growing up and facing the world. When you watch it, you feel like you're right there with those boys, experiencing everything they're going through. Genre mastery. Just when we thought we had Rob Reiner figured out, he switched gears again, this time diving into the magical world of fantasy with The Princess Bride. This movie is an absolute gem. It's hilarious, with so many lines you can quote to your friends. It's got charm for days, like a fairy tale come to life with a cast that couldn't be more perfect. For a lot of us, The Princess Bride was a childhood staple. It was the movie our teachers would put on whenever they needed a break, or maybe they just loved it too. And guess what? Nobody ever got tired of watching it. We'd get excited every single time, no matter how many times we'd seen it before. Now I got to ask, have you ever watched The Princess Bride with someone who didn't grow up with it? It's a whole different experience, trust me. When you watch it with someone who hasn't practically memorized every line, it's like seeing it for the first time all over again. But let's be real, The Princess Bride has become a bit of a meme machine lately. Some of the jokes that used to crack us up might not land the same way anymore. It's kind of sad, but that's what happens when a movie becomes so iconic. Maybe it hasn't aged as well as we'd like to think, but that doesn't mean it's not a good movie. Just 2 years after The Princess Bride, Rob hit us with another classic, When Harry Met Sally. Yep, another rom-com, and this one's a real gem. It's always at the top of those best romantic comedies lists, and for good reason. It's smart, funny, and it feels so real and honest. Plus, the way it's shot is just beautiful. And who could forget that iconic scene in the diner? You know the one, I'll have what she's having. It's a line that's been quoted countless times, and it perfectly captures the humor and heart of this movie. At this point Rob Reiner had already proven himself a master of many genres, mockumentary, romantic comedy, coming of age, and even fantasy. He had made movies that were practically universally loved, feel-good flicks that appealed to just about everyone. With The Princess Bride and When Harry Met Sally, which earned him another Golden Globe nomination by the way, he was one of the biggest names in Hollywood. But just when we thought we had him pegged, he surprised us again by diving headfirst into horror. That's right, he took on another Stephen King story and gave us the unforgettable thriller Misery. This movie is intense, terrifying, and will keep you on the edge of your seat the entire time. And let's not forget Kathy Batts' incredible performance, which earned her an Oscar. With Misery, Rob showed us a whole new side of his talent. He knows how to build suspense, how to make your heart race, and how to scare you silly. The movie is a total nightmare, but it's also beautifully crafted and surprisingly grounded. Not one to rest on his laurels, Rob came back swinging just 2 years later with A Few Good Men. This courtroom drama had a star-studded cast, and Rob directed them flawlessly. The movie was a massive hit, raking in a ton of money and solidifying Rob's position as a Hollywood powerhouse. It was official, there was no genre this guy couldn't conquer. But let's not forget that Rob wasn't just behind the camera. He also popped up in front of it from time to time, playing small but memorable roles in movies like Throw Mama from the Train, Sleepless in Seattle, and Primary Colors. He even stole a few scenes in The Wolf of Wall Street. And in 1995 he gave us another romantic hit, The American President. This movie is so beloved that it's actually ranked as one of the 100 greatest romances by the American Film Institute. The downfall, The American President might not be the most talked about movie these days, but it holds a special place in Rob Reiner's career. Why, you ask? Well, for one, it was a much-needed comeback after his 1994 film North bombed at the box office. That movie was a total disaster, proving that even a talented director like Rob could stumble when it came to family comedies. Even the legendary critic Roger Ebert gave it a thumbs down, saying he hated it. But The American President got Rob back on track. It not only won over audiences but also earned him another Golden Globe nomination for Best Director. This made him one of the most nominated directors without a win, kind of like the best loser in Hollywood. Now, it might not be a huge surprise to hear that a Hollywood star like Rob Reiner supports left-wing causes, but it's something he became more and more vocal about over the years. He even started making political films like the 2016 biopic LBJ, where Woody Harrelson played President Lyndon B. Johnson. It was a well-intentioned movie, but it didn't quite hit the mark, much like Johnson's presidency itself. Then in 2017 he gave us another political flick, Shock and Awe. This one was super left-leaning, and it almost felt like Rob was trying to be the next Michael Moore. Whether you agree with his politics or not, his approach got pretty loud and in your face. It even got to the point where he became a character on South Park. Rob Reiner's not shy about his leftist views, and they've become a big part of who he is. You can often find him on talk shows and news panels sharing his opinions with anyone who'll listen. In 2014 he produced a documentary called God and Country, warning about the dangers of Christian nationalism and the Trump era. It's a pretty heavy film, and it definitely cemented his position as a champion of the far left. While this made him even more popular in Hollywood, it also made him a target for folks on the other side of the political spectrum. Good old Fox News, for example, wasn't too happy with God and Country, even calling it the best performance in religophobia. They even resurrected Rob's old nickname Meathead, throwing it around every chance they got. But despite all the buzz and controversy, God and Country didn't exactly set the box office on fire. It seems like even with a famous director and a hot-button topic, not every movie is a guaranteed hit. Maybe sometimes it's better to stick to comedies and rom-coms. You've probably heard it a million times on this show and others, the battle we're facing right now, preserving democracy versus slipping into a theocratic autocracy. That's the big picture according to some folks. But if you've been paying close attention to Rob Reiner's career, you'll realize his political views aren't the only reason he's not as big a name as he used to be. Nope, the real culprits are plain and simple, not making enough money and not making enough good movies. Think about it. Since 1995, only one of his movies has made over $50 million at the box office here in the US. That movie was The Bucket List back in 2007. The main draw was that it reunited him with Jack Nicholson after 15 years, plus it was cool to see him working with Morgan Freeman. But honestly, that was pretty much the whole marketing strategy for the movie. Hey, look, two awesome old actors together again. It's a bit sad to say, but most of Rob's movies after A Few Good Men haven't really left a lasting mark. They're not bad per se, just kind of forgettable and safe. Even when he tried to challenge himself with movies like Ghosts of Mississippi, a decent but not amazing courtroom drama, he couldn't quite capture the magic of his early work. It's tough to keep hitting home runs when you've already made so many classics. Rob's golden era was the early 90s. He was experimenting with darker themes, making us squirm with misery and demanding justice with A Few Good Men. That last one was a huge hit, his biggest ever, raking in over $100 million at the box office. These days he's lucky to crack $15 million, and only a handful of his movies have done that in the past 3 decades. We're talking about The Bucket List and a pretty forgettable romance called The Story of Us from 1999. Seriously, it only made $27 million, and considering it starred Bruce Willis, that's a major disappointment. Then came 2003's snoozefest Alex and Emma, a romantic comedy that barely made a ripple at the box office, earning a measly $14 million. And let's be honest, any success these movies had wasn't because of Rob Reiner, it was because of the actors starring in them. It's been a long line of uninspired and forgettable films since then, just filling up his filmography without much to show for it. Remember that 2010 movie Flipped? It tried to mix coming of age with romance, but it flopped hard, never even cracking the top 20 at the box office. And what about The Magic of Belle-Île in 2012? Despite having Morgan Freeman as the lead, it barely scraped together $100,000. Things didn't get much better in 2014 with And So It Goes, starring Michael Douglas and Diane Keaton. It was a movie that appealed to a very specific audience. Then in 2015 there was Being Charlie, a movie I'm pretty sure most of us have already forgotten about. And who could forget 2005's Rumor Has It? It was supposed to be a kind of sequel to The Graduate, but the plot was just plain, and they didn't do anything interesting with it. It's like they had a great idea and then just dropped the ball. Life beyond screens. Lately he's been spending a lot of time on his podcast talking about the JFK assassination conspiracy theory. I mean, it's not really a theory anymore, but Rob's on a mission to uncover the truth. He even names 4 possible shooters in his podcast. He says it's impossible, you cannot shoot from this angle, hit somebody in the head, it would come out there, it wouldn't come out back there, and so all the forensic experts I talked to said it has to be a different angle. He's really digging deep into this stuff, trying to piece together what really happened that fateful day in Dallas. Rob's been married twice and has 4 children. His first wife was Penny Marshall, who you might remember as Laverne from the show Laverne and Shirley. She later became a successful director herself, making big hits like Big and A League of Their Own, but her directing career didn't take off until after she and Rob split up. They got married in 1971, but the marriage didn't last, and they divorced 10 years later. Even though they didn't have any kids together, Rob adopted Penny's daughter Tracy from a previous marriage. Tracy has since given Rob several grandkids. Sadly, Penny passed away in 2018 at the age of 75. But love found Rob again, and in 1989 he married Michelle Singer, a photographer he met while filming When Harry Met Sally. They're still happily married to this day. Together they have 3 children, Jake, born in 1991, Nick, born in 1993, and their daughter Romy, born in 1997. Rob Reiner is not just a movie guy, he's also a big-time political activist. He's a founding member of the American Foundation for Equal Rights, a group that fought against a law banning same-sex marriage in California. Back in 1998, he led a campaign to pass a law that created programs for early childhood development funded by a tax on tobacco. He even got made fun of on South Park for his anti-smoking stance. But Rob's activism goes beyond just kids and cigarettes. He's involved in all sorts of causes, like fighting for responsible media, protecting the environment, and even promoting moderation when it comes to things like violence and tobacco use in entertainment. He's also been a vocal supporter of Democratic politicians like Al Gore, Hillary Clinton, and Joe Biden, and he's not afraid to criticize those he disagrees with, especially Donald Trump. Rob even co-founded a group called the Committee to Investigate Russia, which aims to raise awareness about Russian interference in U.S. elections. He and his team have been pretty outspoken about this issue, even releasing a video with Morgan Freeman warning that we are at war with Russia. Lately Rob's been working on a TV series about the relationship between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump called The Spy and the Asset. It's clear that politics is a major passion for Rob, and he's not afraid to use his platform to share his views with the world. Whether in front of the camera or behind it, Rob Reiner has certainly left a big footprint,